Hi, welcome to Awkwardly Awesome. My name's Regan, and I'd like to talk to you today about the truth and lies. I consider myself a member of the truth community, which, to be perfectly honest, I think is a ridiculous thing that we even need to have such a thing. How is it that there should be a community that's dedicated to telling the truth in a society that shares information as freely as we do? I pause there because I actually don't feel that we share information very freely anymore. Censorship seems to be at an all-time high for the last, let's just say, like in the last 70 years. Censorship has never been higher. People tend to want to silence other people artificially, either by using the block button or muting them, canceling them. Cancel culture has never been higher. People seem to think that if you're not agreeing with them, you don't deserve to speak. So, last time I did a video, I really felt that I read from my notes too much. So today I'm trying something different. I've got some questions and some statements that I'm going to try and just use to guide the conversation. Or it's not really a conversation, to guide my monologue here, really. So the truth is awkwardly awesome. It's something that you can. Everybody says that telling the truth is awesome. We tell little children that they should tell the truth, always tell the truth, don't lie. But we also tell them not to hurt people's feelings. We tell them that, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. And very often, if somebody asks what your opinion is and you say nothing at all, what they tend to do is they fill in the blanks for you in their own head. If you ghost somebody or you go silent on somebody, depending on their personal experiences, it may just be that they will fill in the blanks for you. And you might find that the things that they have you saying in their head are much less kind than what you would have said in the first place, depending on where they're coming from in their emotional state. I was speaking with my friend Richard the other night, and he said one of the lines that comes from the Wellbriety program, which is to help Native people deal with substance abuse and different types of issues like that. He said, conflict precedes clarity. And I really like that statement. I wrote it down. I thought it was particularly powerful because it's true. Conflict precedes clarity. In a situation that requires a changing of your opinion, some people will just change their opinion with very little to no convincing, whereas other people are deeply entrenched. And I mean, sometimes it's not worth changing the minds of those who are deeply entrenched because it's just more trouble than it's worth, and they end up hating you in the long run. These days, telling the truth seems to be a revolutionary act, and seeking the truth seems to be just as unpopular. The whole idea with the truth community, we're often called conspiracy theorists, or we're told that we don't believe science, or any of these kind of denigrations. These are just comments that are designed to weaken other people's perception of the message that we're trying to share. Like, for instance, I have doubts about the official narrative of 9/11, because of the passport that didn't burn and they found in the street. The buildings just falling down in place, as though they were intentionally demolished. Building 7 just collapsing from an office fire. I'm not saying that, these are all things that, these prove anything, but they do raise questions. And when we are not allowed to ask those questions, or when people try to stifle us, for some of us, that just makes us dig in deeper. People seem to treat the news as though the mainstream media has never lied to us about anything. We had the Gulf of Tonkin, we had the Kennedy assassination, we had the Bay of Pigs, once again, 9/11, all these things consistently throughout it. The media, and I mean, with 9/11, the BBC specifically lied to us when they said that Building 7 had fallen down 15 minutes before it fell. You could see it smoldering in the background, and it's still standing, and the BBC reporter is telling us that it fell. As far as I know, they never did a retraction on that story, in spite of the fact that we could all see that they were not telling us the truth. It's literally right in front of our faces. The mainstream media being owned by such a few number of people, or a few number of interests, shall I say, because if we go into how many people own it, anybody who has stock in CNN or MSNBC or Fox or BBC or any of those different outlets, they all own it. We know that. That's part of the owning stock means that you have a small portion of the interest of that company in your possession. So, but the people who control those companies, they work together, and to say that they don't is disingenuous at best. There's like 6 major organizations, and when you really look into it, I believe there's probably less. And they're all kind of owned by the same people. And to call conspiracy theorists, or that they're conspiratorial or paranoid because they believe that people of power have meetings to coordinate their grip on power is ridiculous. There is no honesty in that. Once again, we're coming back to the truth. The truth has always been very important to me. Astrologically, I have a moon conjunction with Pluto, which kind of leads me to be hardwired for seeking truth. The truth is not something that I treat casually, and when people treat the truth casually for me, it really bothers me to a great extent. I believe I mentioned in my previous video, my intro video, about how I've had issues with people lying to me in the past. It's something that's very near and dear to my heart. This is not something that I can just easily let go. If I think that somebody's lying to me, I do things like I'll lean on that lie. I'll lean on it because the truth won't break. The truth will always hold up under whatever scrutiny you put it under because it's the truth. It's solid. It's like pushing on a mountain. You can push on a mountain all day, and although the scripture tells us that if you have the faith, you can cause the mountain to get up and jump into the sea, I don't know anybody with that kind of faith. With the truth being so near and dear to me, when people lie to me, recently I've had to go within myself, and my spiritual guidance was that I had to learn to love a liar. Because people lie. I lie. For me to say that I don't lie would be, once again, disingenuous. Every human being lies. Almost probably every day, if not many times a day. A husband will tell his wife that she's not fat, even though she's complained about being fat, and her BMI is higher than it's supposed to be. He'll still tell her that she looks beautiful, etc., etc. And he probably isn't lying there. He probably does think that she looks beautiful because he sees her through different lenses. He sees the woman that he met. And in spite of the fact that she's changed over the years, it's only when somebody releases the ugly part of their personality on to you that you really get to see them in a new light. And suddenly you look at them and realize that they've become ugly over time. But I don't think that's really ugliness from the external. I think that you just are seeing a part of their personality that you've never really noticed before. People who use lies for whatever reason are simply shielding themselves from the truth. Lies are the shields of cowards. That's what they hide behind. They'll couch their opinions in artificially sweet or polite, quote-unquote, nice terms, right? My whole life I was told that I was husky. I have a thick chest. And no one ever told me, except for, there was a couple people who told me that I was fat. And the truth is I was. I might not look fat now, but that's because I lost 60 pounds. I'm down to about 140 pounds, whereas I used to walk around up near 200, 188. And I had a heart attack back in April 2020. And at that time, when I jumped on the scale that day, I was 188 pounds. Today, I think I'm 147. So I'm 40 pounds less. And from my highest weight ever, I was 203. And I have been down as low as high 130s in the last little while. So I was fat. I had nurses couldn't find my veins when they were doing blood work. Um, I would get tired easily. My feet always hurt, and I said, "Oh, I just have high arches. I have a cavalry foot, is what I called it, because I can ride a horse all day, but my feet will kill me after I walk around for 4 hours on a concrete floor with work boots on." And yeah, I suffered very much because of those lies that I told myself throughout the years. Yeah, my method of dealing with lies is to let the liar think that I believe them. Somebody tells me a lie, I'll just say, "Oh, please tell me more." Then I'll start to ask them questions about the details of their lie. And rather than letting the lie fall and then slip to the side like they wanted it to, because no liar ever wants their lie to be uh, examined. They don't want you to pick it up and turn it around and see the imitation made in China, whatever stamp on the bottom of it. They want you to just accept the lie and then sweep it aside and carry on with your life so that they can get away with whatever they were trying to put past you. Like I said earlier, I lean on that lie as though it was the truth because they know that extended pressure on that lie is going to break it. Eventually, they'll run out of energy due to the high level of energy necessary to maintain the fantasy, and when the victim won't overlook the untruth. The truth, I love the truth. The truth requires no maintenance. The truth is like a diamond. It's like something that's so hard, and I mean a diamond is maybe the wrong thing to say. It's like steel in a vacuum, without oxygen there to break it down. Steel will essentially last forever. It's like gold. Gold won't break down no matter what you put on it except for like Awkwardlyee. And even then, the gold doesn't get destroyed. It simply gets turned into a solution, and if you dry that acid out, you'll have gold again, right? You won't destroy it. You won't lose it. When you put your weight onto a lie and you examine it and ask them questions about it and work through it, it doesn't mean that the person who's lied to you is going to tell the truth. Sometimes they will. If they're actually a good person at heart and they just told a lie out of a moment of weakness, most likely they will tell you the truth. And they'll say, "Look, I'm ashamed of what I said. That wasn't the truth." One of my good friends the other day just lied to me about something very, I wouldn't have cared. I really wouldn't have. I mean, I would have cared on some level, but the truth is it wasn't something that, was super shameful. And within a few minutes, he phoned me back and he said, "Honestly, dude, I lied to you. I was just, and I won't tell you the details of the lie, but he said, I lied to you and I'm sorry about that." And I just, the fact that he lied to me and then told me the truth didn't hurt me. I don't like being lied to, but if I get told the truth before I even have a chance to examine the lie, I only have respect for the person for opening themselves up to the criticism of being called a liar should somebody choose to name call. And if that's important to them to denigrate somebody who is talking to them, then I suppose, they are opening themselves up to criticism. But in this case, I simply told my friend, I said, "Man, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Everybody lies." And especially about something like it didn't affect me, right? It wasn't something that would hurt me. It was just something that he felt shame for. Most likely, when you lean on a liar's lies, they probably won't tell you the truth, but they will get angry with you. They'll probably see, telling a lie generates shame, and a liar is going to be ashamed of the lies that they tell you, no matter what. They're probably going to offer some kind of a low vibe response. They're going to get angry. They're going to get defensive. They're going to be indignant. They'll maybe call you names. They'll say things like, "You never believe me. You should be more trusting." When in fact they're lying to you. They require your trust in order to get away with what they're talking about. They'll say, "What do you think? what do you think you're saying? And they'll try to get you to openly accuse them of lying so that they can say, look, he called me a liar. When instead I'll just lean on it and be like, oh no, I actually think you're telling the truth. Let's carry this fantasy that you're maintaining a little bit further. Where else does this story go? Please tell me more. They might slander you. They'll go and tell other people what a jerk you are. They may say that you're emotionally abusive because you wouldn't just let them be on this subject. They'll say they'll get impatient. Why are we still talking about this? Can't you just let it go? Or they'll give you other embarrassing reactions or embarrassed reactions, like gaslighting. Oh, it isn't like that. No, you're just twisting what I said. Why are you flipping this onto me? When somebody is doing cartwheels or somersaults, it probably appears that the rest of the world is flipping on them. They'll also distract you to try to say, well, let's talk about something else. I don't really feel like discussing this anymore. It's not important, right? They'll try to brush it off. Telling the truth is so much easier in the long run. When I tell the truth, I never need to worry about what my backstory is. I remember the truth. I just search through my mind. I say, oh, this is what happened. And one time, a guy tried to run me down with his car. And when I told my friend from my second video the story about that, he did what I did. He said, oh, that's interesting. Cool. Wow, what an incredible story. What had happened is the guy tried to run me down with the car. I jumped up onto the hood, and then I jumped again because my legs were all coiled up, and I hit my shoulder right above where the windshield was. I flipped over the car, and I landed on my feet on the trunk and jumped off. And I ended up with a sore shoulder. I couldn't raise my arm over my head for about 2 days. And when I landed, I put my fist down. I was wearing work gloves, but I put my fist down, and I crunched up my knuckle a little bit on the road. But other than that, I was fine. And when my friend heard this story, he said, oh, cool, great story. Then he went and found the driver of that car, who I've forgiven since, and he's actually a good friend of mine. My friend went and talked to him, and he came back and saw me a day or two later, and he said, I ran into that guy. He said, I asked him what the details about your story. He said, he told me exactly the same story that you did. And I was at my house. I didn't, I was like, yeah, he would, because that's the truth. I didn't need to get defensive. I didn't need to say, why would you question my story? It's an unbelievable story. And to be fair, the guy had a right. Didn't have a right, but he had a reason. It wasn't a good reason, but he had a reason to be angry with me. Maybe not a reason enough to run me down with his car, but he had a reason. And it was because I had been a jerk to him. It wasn't, it's another awkwardly awesome moment. I had spit on his car window, and I called him down in front of the 7-Eleven, and it was a low vibe, violent, angry situation. And I shouldn't have put him in that position, and he shouldn't have tried to run me down with his car. He ended up getting charged and having to go to court. And actually on the day that I was supposed to come in and testify against him, I phoned a cab well in advance because the cabs didn't exactly run quickly in that town. And they did not show up. They got me to the courthouse 10 minutes late. I even phoned to the Crown Counsel and said, I'm going to be late. Can you just delay? Tell them that your witness is on the way. He's just waiting. The cab hasn't picked him up. For whatever reason, Crown did not call down from their offices to let their attorney in the courtroom know that, and so the guy got off. And I'll tell that story at another time, and that's about forgiveness, right? Because I ran into him in the bar much later, and I was angry, and I can even tell it right now. I was angry, and I wanted to hurt him, and I knew that I couldn't leave the bar that night without hurting him, but I also wanted to stay and drink for the rest of the night, and I knew that if I hit him in the head with a bottle or did some other low vibe, angry, immature action towards him, I would get kicked out. I wouldn't be able to stay drinking with my friends, and I would probably get arrested. So instead, I called him over, And I said, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. And he's a very capable guy. He's not afraid to fight. And I think he probably thought that he was in for one. And instead, I just told him that I thought what he had done was stupid, immature, and you know, he, I can't exactly remember what I said, but I remember dressing him down somewhat and saying like it was stupid, it was immature, I think it was blah blah blah, and he agreed with me. I said, but I forgive you. I said I can't be bothered to carry this around anymore. And I couldn't have stunned him more if I would have hit him between the eyes with a sledgehammer. He was shocked. He bought my drinks for the rest of the night, and to this day we're still great friends. And that's the power of the truth. I could have lied. I could have hit him in the head with a bottle when I was hidden somewhere. When he went to the bathroom, I could have hit him in there with nobody around and lied about it and come up with some stupid story. And nobody would have believed me anyway. I probably would have got in trouble for sure. But it wouldn't have done nearly as much as telling the truth and just forgiving him. Forgiveness is extremely powerful, and I would like to do another talk on forgiveness. No long-term energy is required to maintain the truth. You just tell the truth, and somebody asks you again, you tell the same story. It's easy. The truth may be uncomfortable in the short term, but once it's out there, you don't have to think about it anymore. You can let it go. It's in the past. Lies, on the other hand, require constant maintenance. It's like having paper mache pillars outside your house. You have to keep on sealing them and making sure that the facade is perfect, and the sealant is right, so that water doesn't get in here and cause your weak and pathetic facade to crumble under its own weight. Arguing with someone who is wise in their own understanding is a fool's errand. I was reading Proverbs 9 this morning during my biblical devotions, which I do, and I don't expect that anybody else should do that, but I recently just started reading my Bible again. This is my Bible. It's got my name on it. My parents bought it for me and gave it to me for my 7th birthday. It's a little children's Bible. It's got precious moments. It's got cute little pictures in it. It's not a manly text. But the message in it is the same as any other Bible. And I would highly recommend that everybody reads Proverbs 19. The Proverbs are a great place to start the Bible. They kind of give a good flavor for how the Bible is written, and there's all kinds of incredible wisdom in there. But if you're trying to convince somebody who already knows, and they don't have an open mind, they're not willing to entertain a thought other than their own, you're wasting your time. You should probably just find somebody better to talk to. That's a great option. Or don't talk to them about anything serious, because frankly, you should probably just agree with them that that's, I understand, that's what you think, and then find somebody else to talk to. It's probably just not their time. If you wake somebody up, when in 2010, I had an awakening to the fact that we're being lied to, and that the world isn't the way we see it. And I ran around and I tried to wake everyone else up, and they weren't ready to be woken up. So all I did was I angered a bunch of people and I irritated them. If you're not ready to wake up, you're just going to swear at the person who tried to wake you up. The desire to correct a fool or a scoffer only reduces you to their level or lower. If you have to call them names and denigrate their position by saying that they're stupid or they're dumb, tell other people how dumb they are without telling them or without addressing them in a logical fashion, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to help them. You're not going to help yourself. It's impossible to retain the high ground when you go to attack the low road. You can't do both at the same time. And you can harass the low road from the high ground, but really, what's the point? The people on the low road aren't going to say, oh, geez, you're being unkind to me. Can it help me up to where you are? Sometimes you have to travel the low road to get to the high ground. And sometimes in order to get to the high ground, you have to travel on all fours. Humility is a big part of it. Just as sharing wisdom with fools is like casting pearls before swine, so is telling the truth to people who are unwilling to hear it. I guess I'm probably repeating myself here, but I'm just going from my notes, and I don't feel like sitting here and reading my notes extensively while I try to talk. You can't pull their hands from their ears or still their tongue as they're going la 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 and expect them to believe you, right? They've closed themselves off and they're not ready or willing to hear your message. So you're wasting your effort in trying to talk to them. You're better off to find somebody who is ready to listen to you and who wants to understand different things. If you speak the truth in an unnecessarily unkind way, such as including insults or denigrating the intellect of those whom you would sway, how can you expect to reach them? If you go and tell everybody else how stupid they are and how they really don't have anything worthwhile to offer, why would you even want to convince such a person? You're already condemning them. It's one of my favorite verses in the Bible is John 3:17. Everybody knows John 3:16. 3:17 says, "For he came not into the world to condemn the world, but the world that through him might be saved." And that tells you a lot about Jesus' mission to us on earth, is he didn't come to condemn us. And yet Christians so often are willing to condemn other people. They're a drunk. They're a whore. They lie. They cheat on their taxes. They love to get out the six guns, and they're six gunning everybody. They're gunning them down. They're not paying attention, however, to the three fingers that point back at them. That's how I do my shadow work, is I'll silently point out the things that I don't like in other people, and then I pay attention to those three fingers pointing back, because the only reason that it bothers me that somebody is having those things go on in their life is because I have problems with that. If you repeat the truth unkindly to those who already know the truth, if you repeat the truth unkindly to someone who thinks they know the truth, are you not just weaponizing the truth? Nobody wants to be beaten over the head with the truth. If somebody already does know the truth and you tell them that in an unkind fashion, are you not likely to just provoke an angry response from them and bring down the vibration of an otherwise high vibrational person? How can behaving that way be seen as using the truth to spread the light? It just doesn't seem like that's an effective way. Does criticizing their intellect somehow elevate your own? You can point out that they're stupid all day. Is that going to suddenly convince them how brilliant you are? Oh, I thought maybe somebody was honking the horn outside my house, but it just sounds like people are driving around in our field with a skidoo or a snowmobile. Using the truth as a tool to degrade someone else only degrades the speaker and their entire audience. Anybody else listening to them while they tell you how stupid somebody else is only having their own level of enlightenment or their own vibrational level, however you choose to, their own spiritual purity. It's only being dragged down by having to listen to you talk about how awful somebody else is. Acknowledging the darkness is one thing, but spreading it is another thing altogether. As bearers of the torch of the truth, it seems to me that our mission is to illuminate the shadows rather than to burn down the village. When we illuminate the shadows in the closet to show the children that there are no monsters there, we need to take care that we do not ignite the clothing that's stored there. Scaring away the monsters by using the truth in such a careless and immature fashion is less than useless. It's harmful. For all of the weakness of the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm still stands to be true to me. It seems to me that the truth is a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. You could use it to cut your opponent, but on the backswing, you can just as easily cut yourself. Now, in these dark times, when everything is changing so quickly and rapidly, people are stuck in their homes, children are suddenly having to be educated over Zoom meetings, while we're heating schools unnecessarily. Buildings are empty, and yet we're still burning fuels and carbon, like hydrocarbons, to heat these empty buildings so that the pipes don't burst and cause extra damage. And yet we're criticizing people for the products that they buy and the vehicles that they drive and how they use their energy. It seems to me that the truth would be better off to be brought into those situations and for us to make the hard decisions that are necessary to actually address things. Like, if our carbon footprint is that important, we need to shut down these buildings. We need to, turn the taps off, drain the pipes. I mean, people with recreational vehicles or caravans, depending on where you're at, what they're called, they put antifreeze in their pipes when they're not using their trailers so that the cold weather doesn't destroy things. These are all options that we could use on these unused buildings. And a vacant building is still heated, and a building doesn't ever get shut off like a car does. I know I'm kind of digressing away from the truth here, but I've kind of finished up with my notes, and this is where it's easy for me to get running away on rabbit trails. The mainstream media often spins the story. They spin the truth, and they make it so that their message is propaganda. And propaganda is where you tell somebody something and you have a vested interest in what they believe, right? The news used to be something where they would tell us both sides of the story. They would give us both sides of the situation and let us make up our own minds. But some time ago that changed, and the news outlets became podiums for them to tell us what we should believe. And that's something that just grinds against me as someone who seeks the truth. Don't tell me what to believe. Tell me what the facts are, and let me make up my own mind. On that note, I'm going to say, have an awkwardly awesome day. God loves you, and so do I.